know it's dark in here. Let me see. Well, don't have much light. Just made it to my delivery for the night, so I said I want to go live. Obviously, Florida Gators are 0-1. I think I saw somewhere where it said the Utes they were down 8 starters. You gotta you gotta hate it, man. You have to hate it. But I'm not here to um, talk about the Gators. I'm here to talk about our quarterback. I've heard much. Well, I've heard quite a few people that say um, Tyler really doesn't have as much pressure this year as he had last year, and the reason being is that the preseason hype is not there. All these mock drafts that had him, as a first round pick, being arguably the top or at least second, maybe third quarterback in the ACC this particular year. I mean, last year, all that stuff is gone, and I could not disagree anymore. I think Tyler actually has more pressure this particular year than he did last year, and I'm gonna give you a reason why. Well, I'm gonna give you a few reasons why. Well, for one reason is that internally, internally, he has to think about, look, what transpired at the end of 2021 was magical, right? It was magical. And people are expecting me to be that quarterback again. People are expecting me to be that quarterback again. Now, you kind of get a pass last particular year because you were in an offense that didn't necessarily benefit the skill sets that you really brought to the table. Your big arm, the ability to make all the NFL throws, things like that. Now, that offense may have been more NFL oriented, even though I don't necessarily know what an NFL oriented offense is now, because after the whole Kyler Murray situation out in Arizona, where you hire a failed college football coach to come in and bring a college style offense to fit the skill set that he has. So I don't know what an NFL oriented offense excuse me, is nowadays. But that's the offense that he had last year. Struggled mightily, got injured, just didn't look yourself. But now you come in this year where Coach Cristobal, to his credit, and I try to give Coach Cristobal credit. I don't necessarily give him as much credit as some others do, because I think sometimes people kind of blur the lines a little bit when they start talking about overly giving someone credit. I give you credit for what you did. So you brought in the offensive coordinator that runs a system, a scheme that highlights what it is that he does well. So you have that system in place. Then you have Josh Pate, who I believe is rising through is rising through the ranks. I see a lot of people look at him as a guy that is, someone that is a go-to in terms of talking about college football. So he came down to the Miami campus. And so Josh Pate has been one of the ones that's been banging that Miami Hurricane drum. And I'm sure there are people that have taken notice to it. So obviously they're going to look at Tyler Van Dyke, because obviously Josh Pate had glowing things to say about Mario Cristobal, had this glowing things to say about the Miami Hurricane program, and things of that particular nature. So obviously Tyler Van Dyke is one of the things that he's going to talk about. So then I saw the captains for game were the captains, and Tyler Van Dyke is one of the captains. So now you're looked at to be so you're a leader of the team, you know, even more so of a leader, because you're no longer the red shirt freshman that came in at the end of the Alabama game. After we took De'Aaron King out the game, that's no longer who you are. You are now what, a red shirt junior now, um, and people are expecting for you to play at a particular level. And then when we talk about the situation about Nick Saban wanting to come, or whatever the situation was going on with Alabama, where it was, we don't know if we're gonna be able to keep Tyler. We don't know if we're gonna be able to keep Tyler. Alabama's making a push. So it's like, well, if the greatest college football coach of all time is looking for you to come be a quarterback of the team, obviously there's something there within a particular skill set. So obviously people hold Nick Saban's evaluations in such high, high esteem, high regard. That was one of the things that I heard people say. Well, we can't say Tyler's bad if Nick Saban wanted him. So that's kind of what it is. And when we think about 2021, see, individuals, I see people have said, well, if Ty can just get back to the 2021 Tyler, we should be fine. And I'm like, no, he can't just go back to 2021, because the thing about 2021 is that was spontaneous. That no one had any film to really combat that. But now there's film on it. So you have to go to 2021, and then you have to go past 2021. So it's almost at a point where Tyler actually has to perform better. Like, you have to make up for 2022 and 2023. And when I say make up, let's say I think Tyler came in. I think he threw for like 2,500 yards. I think he may have had like 20 some odd touchdowns. So almost like going into this particular year, a stat line for Tyler this particular year, we're talking about, because we brought the offense, we catered. Um, he has weapons. Coach Cristobal, again, to his credit, has shored up the protection from an interior standpoint. Um, we'll see how the tackles work, but you have your weapons. Um, you got big target in Kobe Young. X is healthy. Jacoby George is healthy. We got you a deep play target in Tyler Harrell. Uh, another big target in Isaiah Horton. You got some speedsters in Brashard and Ray Ray. Kirk is a guy that people say can wrap people up. So you got weapons. Now you don't have Cal McCord, Devin Brown weapons, but you have weapons. So ideally, it's almost like a stat line. Like, to be honest, if Tyler throws, and again, I'm not saying that these are the statistics that he needs to have, but I'm saying if we're really looking at what it is when we factor in Tyler's experience, when we factor in the weapons that we do have, weapons that are older now, in term weapons that are getting prepared to go to that next level, because that's one thing that Mike Harley did when it was his last year. Obviously, his last 2 years, he got another year because of the virus. Mike Harley turned it on. Mike Harley really turned it on. And I think that's what we're seeing from a Jacoby George. That's what we're seeing from an X, which X has always had it on. And Kobe Young is coming in to make a name. And then we got Ray Ray being acknowledged as catching the most balls in the jugs machine. So he's coming. Pause. But ideally, we're looking at statistics where Tyler, you should really be at about 42, 4,300 yards, about 42, maybe 43 touchdowns, to probably about 6 or 7 interceptions. Like, ideally, that's the stat line that you should have. If it's around 34, 3,500 yards, wow, that's solid. But just it's a lot of pressure, because I think most of us agree that this team is going to go as Tyler goes. Um, Again, I think the defense is going to be good, but the name of the game is putting points on the board, and we're going to be expecting Tyler to do that, because again, 5-7 happened last year, and we're hoping for a much needed improvement. Now, while we can point to coverage bust and all these particular things like this on the defensive side of the ball, my thing was about the defense. My thing always was, I felt like that Kevin Steele did not have all of the allotment of weapons that he needed to actually put a defense on the field that's similar to what he had at maybe Auburn and some of his previous stops. So I didn't really have as much of an issue with the defense like um, a lot of people had. But we all had an issue with the offense. So that's even so again, that's even more pressure in my opinion because it's like we're expecting the offense to take a gravitational leap, right? I think even the most conservative Kane fans are expecting for this offense to take a big jump, and that offense is not going to be able to take that big jump unless we have Tyler Van Dyke playing at such a high level. So again, honestly, again, I'm really thinking that like yeah, I think it's in the back of it's in the back of most of our minds where it's like look, this is make or break. If TVD goes the way we feel like he should go, the sky's the limit. If he doesn't go where we think we're gonna go, hey, we gotta cut and bail, and hopefully we can salvage something. But again, like I say, that's a lot of pressure. Now, a lot of us had a lot of expectation predictions last year. I know I said 10-2, last year, and that's something that it didn't come to fruition, right? It didn't come to fruition, and we put a lot in, on Coach Cristobal saying that yes, they're gonna come in year one and do all these particular things, and it didn't happen. So again, like I said, Tyler really has a lot more pressure this year um, than he had last year. He really did. I mean, he really does because it's like we are, and the pressure is um, the fan base. Most people in the fan base are kind of looking at it like, look, man, if you're not playing where you're supposed to play at and we don't feel like Jakari's there, man, throw Emery in there. Now I'm not of that thought process, but I know it happens every year. Anytime a new quarterback comes in, a large contingency of fans they anoint that person as the future, as the savior, stuff like that. But yeah, it's a lot of pressure. It's a lot of pressure, and if he succumbs to the pressure, then this season can get ugly really quick, really quick. But man, that's all I wanted to talk about, man. Well, it's 12. Well, yeah, it's game day. It's 11:56 where I'm at, so might as well say it's game day. So um, again, man, we're hoping for a good, a good solid game, a Kane victory, no injuries, and hopefully we get to see a lot of the young players actually play. Um, you know, later on this afternoon, later on today, and start the season off 1-0. It's all about the U.